والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ونبينا ومولانا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. Alhamdulillah, thumma alhamdulillah, we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for giving us the opportunity to attain closeness to Him. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant that with every letter that we learn, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bring us closer to Him in darajat and in relationship. Ameen ya Rabbil Alameen. Before we start, Jamaatul Muslimin, Ibn Ahmad? Okay. So, inshallah ta'ala, we will carry on from where we ended off last year. And that was Surah Al-Layl was the last surah that we did. So the next surah that we will go through is Surah Al-Shams. And these surahs that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in the Quran, the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam mentions in a hadith of a story, a riwayah where a man was traveling. Well, he's not traveling, he was, you know, how people would normally have the cattle and so on that would help them during farming and so on. And one of the Sahaba, Mu'adh ibn Jabal, it was late into the night, and he went to go make Isha Salah. And this was already after Isha was done already in congregation, and he was late, so he went to make Isha Salah. And then this A'rabi, this man that came across Sayyidina Mu'adh ibn Jabal, also missed Isha Salah in Jama'ah. He decided, okay, he's going to, stop there and tie up his camels and then go and join Mu'adh radiallahu anhu. And the narration goes, there is two narrations to it. The first one is that when he joined Sayyidina Mu'adh, he was reciting in Surah Baqarah. He had started Surah Baqarah. And for the first rak'ah, he recited the whole of Surah Baqarah. Second rak'ah, he recited the whole of Surah Nisa. So in the salah, this man decided, you know what, I can't keep up with this. It's too much. The other narration is that he recited Surah Baqarah in both rak'at. Right? But either way, the point was he recited a lot. And this man then went to the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam and complained. And Mu'adh ibn Jabal was then called in, and the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam had asked him, are you trying to test the people? Are you trying to test the iman? And instead the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam told him that behind you, you are not always aware of who is standing behind you. There could be old people, there could be young children, there could be people of different ages. So stick to the surahs that is more love to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, and that is the short surahs. And one of those surahs that the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam mentioned was Surah Al-Shams, Surah Al-Layl, and Sabbih Isma Rabbika Al-A'la. Those were the three surahs that the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam had mentioned to Mu'adh ibn Jabal, that it is better for him to recite those surahs in jama'ah, leading people, than to recite the whole of Baqarah. So the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam gives Sayyidina Mu'adh this advice, and it's advice that we all should also follow. Sometimes people going to salah, and we are not always aware of who is behind us. Sometimes we're reciting maybe because we want to finish a certain amount of ajza. But the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam says that whenever you are leading people in salah, you do it in a good manner, in a merciful manner. We're not there to torture the people while they're standing in salah, to test how strong is your iman. If someone can't keep up with you, then oh no, your iman is too weak. That's not the point. The point is that the person feels welcomed in his salah, in a jama'ah. Right? That is the whole point of jama'ah, is that it is unity. But if we're showing other people out there that our unity and your unity doesn't come to the same level, then we are not doing what Islam is ordering us to do, what the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam is telling us to do. So in the Surah Al-Shams, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, بَعْدَ أَعُوذُ بِاللَّهِ مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ الرَّجِيمِ بِسْمِ اللَّهِ الرَّحْمَنِ الرَّحِيمِ وَالشَّمْسِ وَضُحَاهَا وَالْقَمَرِ إِذَا تَلَاهَا. Now, in many of these surahs, the small surahs, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made many, sumbas, qasams. And whenever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes a qasam, it is always on something that is great to mankind. Right? We as mankind, we have only one way of making a qasam, and that is, Wallahi billahi utallahi. Whereas Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes a qasam in any way He wishes. If Allah wishes to make a qasam by the stars, Allah makes a qasam by the stars. Allah wishes to make a qasam by the planets, Allah makes a qasam by the planets. In whichever way Allah wishes. And in this particular surah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes a qasam by saying, وَالشَّمْسِ وَضُحَاهَا. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions the sun and the light that it brings. And the sun is something that is very important to mankind. In actual fact, the sun was Nabi Ibrahim's way of proving Nimrud. Nimrud was the king that lived in Nabi Ibrahim's time. When Nabi Ibrahim came to him and told him that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brings people to life and allows people to die, he said, I can do that as well. Ana uhyi wa umi. I can decide if someone's going to live, or I can decide if you must be killed. And then he said, فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ يَأْتِي بِالشَّمْسِ مِنَ الْمَشْرِقِ فَأْتِ بِهَا مِنَ الْمَغْرِبِ. So he says, okay, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brings the sun from the east, bring it from the opposite side. And he couldn't do that. So the sun was a way of Nabi Ibrahim, dethroning Nimrud from his claim that he is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And not only that, Jamaatul Muslimin, sometimes there are things that we have around us that we don't really take note of. How major or how great Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's creation is, until we are faced with a point in our life where we need that thing more than anything. I mean, if you look at the size of the sun alone, the size of the sun, they say you can fit 1.8 million earths in the sun. 1.8, this earth that we think is so big, 1.8 million earths in the sun. That is how big the sun that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created for us. And this sun has very important things that it does for us. When we wake up, when do we go sleep? All of those things, when our salah is being done or needs to be done, when do we wake up for fajr, when do we start when do we do a suhoor, when do we end suhoor? All of those things depends on the sun. Otherwise we'd be eating until the sun comes up, or until a certain time that we're not sure whether the sun is up or not. So there is importance to the thing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes the qasam by. And Allah says, وَالشَّمْسِ وَضُحَاهَا. And duhaha, it comes from duha. We have Salatul Duha, also known as Salatul Awabin. And that is done when the sun has reached the height of the sphere. Again, we need to know that the sun has reached the height of the sphere in order to do Salatul Duha. Without knowing how far the sun has gone up, we won't be able to know whether to do that salah or not. So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks about the morning of the sun or the shining of the sun or the daytime, it is from utmost importance to mankind. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَالْقَمَرِ إِذَا تَلَاهَا. And the moon, it follows it. Again, another creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we take for granted. The Rabbi alayhi salatu wasalam says in a hadith that the person that goes and learns knowledge, goes to attain knowledge, that person is better for mankind than the rest of the planets compared to the moon. Now, if you look at the moon, many times people will be like, okay, you know what, the moon, it provides us light. But there is so much more to it that we don't even take note of. In the time of the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, when the Jews wanted to cross-question the Nabi, the Jews were known for cross-questioning Anbiya. That is why Allah says in Surah Baqarah, do you want to be like them? You cross-question your Nabi? So the Jews, instead of coming to the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam themselves out of fear, they went to the Sahaba and they said, you know what, why don't you ask your Nabi, why is it that the moon, it changes? If you look up at the moon during the month, as the month goes, it gets smaller, 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 and then a new moon appears. It's the same moon, but the shape of it changes. Why is it that the moon goes through these stages? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala records this in the Quran. Allah says, يَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنِ الْأَهِلَّةِ. They ask you of the different stages of the moon. And Allah says, هِيَ مَوَاقِيتُ لِلنَّاسِ. That Allah created the moon to go through these stages because it is a way for us to indicate to us what is the time of the month. When is it the time of Hajj? And Ramadan as well. We know that in order to fast Ramadan, the moon needs to be sighted. In order to stop fasting Ramadan, the moon needs to be sighted. So without the moon being there, we won't know whether we are going to fast, whether we are going to do Hajj. And there are many other benefits as well. And even the scientists, those who, like the atheists, they can't tell you why does the moon go through these phases. They can tell you it does. But they don't know the point behind it. And Allah says in the Quran, 1400 years ago, over 1400 years ago, what is the point of the moon going through these stages? It is going through these stages to indicate to people that this is the time for this month and that month and that month. Yet we choose to believe the scientists out there that say, no, the moon must be like this and it must be like that. Allah says straight away, right, that the moon has its stages, and the people that follows the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they will see the benefit in these creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allah says, وَالْقَمَرِ إِذَا تَلَاهَا. And the moon that follows it, comes after the sun. وَالنَّهَارِ إِذَا جَلَّاهَا. Now here the ulama, when they speak, when they look at this ayah, وَالنَّهَارِ إِذَا جَلَّاهَا, Nahar means day. Right? Jallaha means to cover it. So the daytime that covers everything. So the ulama, they say, is this the sun that is covering the moon? Because Jallaha, that ha alif at the end, that is what is known in Arabic as an attached pronoun. Alright? In English, you have pronouns that are separate from the word, likewise in Arabic. But in Arabic, you also have pronouns that is attached to the word. And that ha alif at the end is a pronoun that is speaking about something specific. So the ulama, they say, is this pronoun referring to the sun or the moon, or is it speaking about something else? And there are two opinions. One that says that this Jallaha is speaking about the moon, and the other one says that Jallaha means the earth. And it would make sense that they are speaking, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is speaking about the earth, because when the sun shines, it shines over the earth. And when the sun and the moon switches places, they are never crossing one another. When the sun and the moon are switching places, all right, unless it's an eclipse. But generally, the sun and the moon, they don't cross places. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, لَا الشَّمْسُ يَنْبَغِي لَهَا أَن تُدْرِكَ الْقَمْرَ وَلَا اللَّيْلُ سَابِقُ النَّهَارِ. That the sun will never catch up to the moon. They will never stay in each other's way at all times. وَلَا اللَّيْلُ سَابِقُ النَّهَارِ. Neither is night going to come before day. وَكُلٌّ فِي فَلَكٍ يَسْبَحُونَ. And everything is as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created in a system. So the moon and the sun, they have their own orders from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is how you operate. The rays of the sun that the sun gives on the planet, that shines everywhere, gives us daytime, tells us it is time to get up and go and work for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for the sake of your family. That is an ayah from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, a sign of Allah's greatness. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in so many ayat, Siru fil ard, go through the earth. See the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. See those who came before you and transgressed, and those who are obedient. See the benefits that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has granted you. So, وَالنَّهَارِ إِذَا جَلَّاهَا, the most agreed upon opinion is that it is talking, Allah is talking about the earth. That the daylight shines upon the earth. وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا يَغْشَاهَا. And same thing, the opposite. Ya Allah is speaking now about the night and the darkness that envelops the night. And obviously it is also a sign for us that it is come closer to the time where you need to either get ready for tahajjud salah, you get ready to go sleep, you get ready for maghrib, isha. It is all signs for us to know where it is that we are going throughout the day. People used to follow back in the day in order to know which month or how many years has gone past. They used to look at the month, the seasons. And they say it's winter now, so if it comes to winter again, then a year has passed. But not realizing that winter and summer has been changing. Even in today's time, we see how winter has become shorter or longer, or summer has become shorter or longer. So it is moving. Yet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us a set time in space that will never change. And we choose to go the opposite way. And Allah says, look at the moon. It will give you the time. It will give you the month. It will give you the day. But we choose to follow that which other people come up with. So, the next ayah Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَالسَّمَاءِ وَمَا بَنَاهَا. Ya Allah, remember we are still dealing with the qasam. We're still dealing with the sumbah. Allah is going to get to the point where Allah tells us what it is Allah is sumbaying about. What is the qasam about? So Allah says, وَالسَّمَاءِ وَمَا بَنَاهَا. And the heavens, and here again there is two opinions. Banaha means the construction of it. Right? Man banaha means the one who constructed it. So the ulama, they say that either way it has to do with the greatness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The construction of the samawat or the one who had constructed it. And if you look at the ayat where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speak about the creation of this dunya and the samawat, Allah says, أَوَلَمْ يَرَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا أَنَّ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ كَانَتَا رَتْقًا فَفَتَقْنَاهُمَا. Allah says that the heavens and the earth, they were all one. فَفَتَقْنَاهُمَا, and we split them apart. And all of these people that go on about the Big Bang Theory, Allah proves that in the Quran. Over 1400 years ago. You don't need to go to a scientist to tell you that. Allah tells you that in the Quran. So Allah says, وَالسَّمَاءِ وَمَا بَنَاهَا. The sama, it was raised high up into the sky. And then Allah says, وَالْأَرْضِ وَمَا طَحَاهَا. And the earth and everything that is in it. Everything that is in this earth, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created for the benefit of mankind. Up to the smallest, enzyme, the smallest creature, the smallest plant, every single thing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created for the benefit of mankind. Not so that they can transgress against Allah and say that this dunya was created by itself, but so that they can see the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and turn back to Allah and worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Everything on this earth, Jamaatul Muslimin, that we find and that we are still discovering. Look at the ocean. Up to this point, people, all of these scientists around the world are not even sure what is the depth of the ocean. They don't even know what is in the lowest point of the ocean. They can't say. Yet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us, look at this greatness. Look at all of the things that Allah has put in front of you. Yet you still choose to follow those who are blinded. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَنَفْسٍ وَمَا سَوَّاهَا وَنَفْسٍ وَمَا سَوَّاهَا. Here Allah is speaking about the creation of mankind. The creation of mankind, not only our bodies, but also our souls. Again, something nobody has a clue about. In the time of the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, the Jews, they went to the Nabi, they said, يَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنِ الرُّوحِ. They said, tell us about the soul. What do you know about the soul? And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed the ayah that its knowledge is only by Allah. No one else. Nobody will be able to tell you in depth what is the soul. We know it's there. We know that we benefit from it. We know that we use it. We know that it's a means for us to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But knowing any more than that, is it going to take away the benefit of what we can do with it? It's not. Amongst the Arabs, they have the saying, when it comes to these things of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's creation, like the moon and the stars and the sun, they say that knowing it, it's not going to increase in benefit for you in any way. And being ignorant about it, it's not going to decrease the benefit of it that you will get anyway. So likewise, our ruh, it's not going to change how much you are going to benefit from it. Nor your ignorance about it is going to take away any benefit that you could have gotten from it. But understanding that this comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the knowledge about it is only by Allah, it is a way of you humbling yourself in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَنَفْسٍ وَمَا سَوَّاهَا, Allah speaks about our soul that has been proportioned in the proper way. Our bodies that has been put in the proper way. There is balance in our bodies. We're not falling over. We're not walking on one leg and then somehow falling on our hands or on our face or whatever the case may be. Allah has created us in a stable way. The Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam says, كُلُّ مَوْلُودٍ يُولَدُ عَلَى فِطْرَةٍ. That every single person that is born on fitrah, meaning purity, right? And that fitrah is believe in Islam, believe in Allah, right? Even though you might say, oh, but it's a baby, how can a baby believe in Allah? There is a hadith where the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam says that every single soul was asked before it was sent down to this dunya, where do you want to be? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will remind us all on the day of Qiyamah when we stand in front of Him. So when we say that we don't want to live in this dunya, you know how the youngsters will say, I want to die, I'm sick of this world. We chose to be on this dunya. We took Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's question and we said, Ya Allah, we wish to be amongst mankind. So it is not something that is new. It is not something that we are not aware of. But the day of Qiyamah, when we stand before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that veil that is covering that memory will be removed. And we will remember that we said to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we want to be amongst the people of mankind. So the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam says, كُلُّ مَوْلُودٍ يُولَدُ عَلَى فِطْرَةٍ. Every single person is born on this fitrah, this purity. فَأَبَوَاهُ يَهُوِّدَانِهِ أَوْ يُنَصِّرَانِهِ أَوْ يُنَجِّسَانِهِ. And then the parents of this child, they will decide if the child is going to grow up amongst the Nasara, as a Christian, whether the person is going to grow up as a Jew. Right? And then the Nabi says, كَمَا تُولَدُ الْبَهِيمَةُ بَهِيمَةً جَمْعًا هَلْ تُحْسِنُ فِيهَا مِنْ جِدَاعٍ. The Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam makes an example and he says, if you look at the animals, an animal that is born complete, is whole, there's no defect. The Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam says, do you see any mutilation in this animal? Anything funny? It's complete. Now like that, children are born. They are born upon the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And only from there onwards do their parents decide what religion they are going to follow. In another hadith, the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam says that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Inni khalaqtu ibadi hanifan, that I have created my servants in a beautiful way. I have created my servants on a monotheism way. فَجَاءَتْهُمُ الشَّيْطَانِ فَاجْتَلَتْهُمْ عَنْ دِينِهِمْ. But that shaitan will come and he will force them off from that religion. And this is the reality even if you take older people as well. The Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam says that there are people that will do the work of Ahlul Jannah, the people of Jannah, till the end of their life. And when they get to the end, they will get tired of doing it and they will start doing the work of the people of Jahannam, and Allah will put them in Jahannam. And then the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam says that you will get people that will do the work of the people of Jahannam, and they will do this work until a point in their life where they decide they're going to do the work of the people of Ahlul Jannah, and because of that Allah will put them in Jannah. So it comes down at the end of the day, Jamaatul Muslimin, to how much we want that relationship with Allah. There are some people out there that refuse to even let hidayah come their way. They see something about, your salah or your fasting or doing good or giving sadaqah on Instagram or Facebook or YouTube. Skip that video quickly. It's better if I don't know. If I don't know, Allah can't hold me accountable for it. Allah is watching everything that we do. Right. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَأَلْهَمَهَا فُجُورَهَا وَتَقْوَاهَا. Allah has shown each and every person the bad of this dunya that can be done and the good that can be done. And the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam says that creation is on 3 categories. The first category is those who are ordered to do ibadah and are ma'soom. They are infallible. And those are the malaika. They were given an order by Allah. You do ibadah. But at the same time, they do not make mistakes. Allah says, لا يعصون الله ما أمرهم ويفعلون ما يؤمرون. That they obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in every order and they never disobey Allah. Sometimes you come across these, fake riwayas from the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam where this malak or that malak or that malak done something against Allah. This ayah proves that the malaika never go against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, first category, they are given ibadah to do and they are made infallible. That's the malaika. Then the second category you get is those who are never given any ibadah, any responsibilities to do as they became mukallaf, right? And they are not infallible. And those are the animals and birds and fish and all of those things around. All of them were not given ibadah to do. Allah never said you are responsible for doing this. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks about amana in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Inna aradna al-amanata ala samawati wal-ardi wal-jibal. That we had given this responsibility to the heavens, the earth and the mountains. فَأَبَيْنَ أَن يَحْمِلْنَهَا. But they declined. They were scared of it. فَأَبَيْنَ أَن يَحْمِلْنَهَا وَأَشْفَقْنَ مِنْهَا وَحَمَلَهَا الْإِنسان. But mankind, they stood forward and they said, Ya Allah, we will carry this responsibility. We will take on this responsibility and fulfill it. And that applies to all of those who are following the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the guidance of the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam. They are fulfilling that responsibility that mankind had taken from Allah. So, when it comes to animals, there is no responsibility on them. They are not infallible either. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's justice is so that in the day of Qiyamah, the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam says that if one animal had wronged another, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will hold that animal accountable. But what happens after that? Allah says, Kuni turaba, that you will become dust and they become dust. Right? The Jannah and the Nar is for mankind and jinn kind. Then the last group that you get is those whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given responsibility and made them mukallaf from a certain age and had also not made them infallible. And that is mankind and jinn kind. So those 3 stages, Jamaatul Muslimin, is where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed our responsibility. If we want to gain closer to Allah, we need to make sure that we stay away from that which is bad. If we want to move away from Allah, Allah is not in need of us. We make that choice, we can move away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Allah will not decrease, His kingdom will not decrease in any way. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَأَلْهَمَهَا فُجُورَهَا وَتَقْوَاهَا. Everything is shown to us. The good, the bad, and we decide from there. Now some of the ulama, they say that this has to do with qada and qadr of Allah. Things that are predestined or things that are decided by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala long ago. And there's a riwayah where a man came to the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam and he said, Ya Rasulullah, أَرَأَيْتَ مَا يَعْمَلُ النَّاسِ فِيهِ يتكادحون أشياء قضى عليهم من قدر قد سبق أم شيء مما يستقبلون مما أتاهم به نبيهم. He comes to the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam and he says, Ya Rasulullah, do you see the things that people do, the things that they struggle for, that they strive for? Are those things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had already put out for them? It's predetermined. Or is it things that only come down once the message comes to you, Ya Rasulullah, and you tell us and now we know about it? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses that as a way that we cannot escape from. Is that the reason why we do good and do bad? And the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam says to him, Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad. The Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam says, Bal shay'un qad qada alayhi. That it is something that is predetermined. Someone does good, someone does bad. Now here there are two opinions of the ulama. Some of them say that these are things, in this ayah, is things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had predetermined and we have to go through difficulty in order to change it. Or it is things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decides for his slave when he makes the choice. So the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam says, Bal shay'un qad qada. It is something that has already been put down. فَفِيمَا نَعْمَلْ. So he looks at the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam and says, Ya Rasulullah, then why are we even doing this? Why are we even trying to be good? Why are we even trying to be bad? Why do people be bad? Why is people good? If everything is already written down, everything is already placed there. And this is something that a lot of people ask this question. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has already written down for me what it is I'm going to do, why should I still live my life? Why should I still go through day in, day out struggling, trying to be a good person, trying to stay away from bad? If Allah had already put it out. The Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam says, كان الله خلقه لإحدى المنزلتين. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had created his creation for two stages, one of two categories. Either it's going to be for heaven, this specific soul, or it's going to be for hell, the specific soul. And he says, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, وَنَفْسٍ وَمَا سَوَّاهَا فَأَلْهَمَهَا فُجُورَهَا وَتَقْوَاهَا. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given the one the ways to hell and the other one the ways to heaven. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, further on the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam says that every single thing that we do, we have a choice. Because Allah has given us the intellect to tell ourselves, you know what, I'm not going to do this or I am going to do this. But we make that choice in that last moment whether to follow the people of Jahannam or follow the people of Jannah. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not be questioned about Allah's actions. But every single person will be questioned of what they do. Now, some people may say, okay, but if I'm working according to the people of Jahannam, there's no way out for me. There's no way I can end up in Jannah. The rahmah and the reward and the maghfirah that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put on this dunya is so much, it is impossible for us not to gain closeness to Allah. But we, like I mentioned, we find ways to move away from that hidayah. When we come, and Muslims, non-Muslims alike, when we come across things that is trying to guide us, someone sends us a message in Ramadan or a video, look at this video, it is so inspiring, delete. I'm not interested in this. We stop ourselves from seeing that hidayah before we even give it a chance. We stop ourselves from finding a way to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala before we even give it a chance. So therefore Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that even though it is predetermined, we make that choice to change our life or not. And that is why in the hadith that I mentioned, the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam says, you can work your whole life of do the deeds of the people of Jahannam. Come to the end of your life and change it and start doing the deeds of the people of Jannah and you enter Jannah. And the beauty about a person that makes tawbah and never goes back to those actions again is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wipes away those sins. If our tawbah is sincere and our dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there is truth in it, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has no problem granting it to us. Allah says in the hadith that my slaves, as long as they obeyed me and followed my orders, I forgave them. Those who were doing good. And it did not bother me. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Ya ibn Adam, لَوْ بَلَغَ ذُنُوبُكَ عِنَانِ السَّمَاءِ. Even if your sins was to reach the heavens, and you came to me asking for forgiveness, I would forgive you and it wouldn't bother me. This is how much rahmah Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has for His slaves. So when we look at things that has been determined before our time, know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is still watching us whether we're going to make the right choice or not. And no matter how difficult it might be, the reward for it is much more. Especially the ones that we struggle with. If we decide we're going to recite Quran today because I never recited in so long, or I've never recited the surah before, I want to learn the surah, and we struggle to get there, the reward is more. The reward is more for a person that struggles to do good than a person that does it easily. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has already been giving that person reward. Here's someone come that is missed out for many years, never gave sadaqat, never gave anything, never did any good in his life, wants to change his life. I'm sure we all must have heard the story of the man that killed 100 people, right? At the end of the day, when the man came in front of the sheikh told him, what comes between you and Allah? Nothing. You want to make tawbah? Nothing can come between you and Allah. And as the man leaves, he dies. The sheikh tells him, go to so and so place, go and worship the people there. They worship Allah with them. And his niyyah was truthful. He was sincere in what he wanted to do, and he went. And the man died along the way. And when the malaika of rahmah came and the malaika of punishment came, they started to debate. Who should take this person? And the malaika of rahmah, they say, you know what? He was on his way to better his life. He was on his way. He had already made tawbah. Right? His niyyah was to make tawbah. His intention was to be closer to Allah. The malaika of punishment, they say, yes, but he killed 100 people. We can't just wipe that away like it's nothing. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends a third malak, or at least a fourth malak down to be the judge between them. And Allah tells this malak to tell the rest that if he is closer to the place he was going to, then the malaika of rahmah must take him. And if he is closer to the place where he came from, meaning where he committed all his sin, the malaika of adab take him, of punishment take him. And when they measured the distance, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala caused that the place he was going to come closer and the place he came from to go further away. So when it comes to the rahmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it is unlimited. Further on Jama'at Muslimin, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then says, قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ زَكَّاهَا. And here Allah praises those who purifies themselves. And when Allah says, قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ زَكَّاهَا, that ha there is the same ha we were talking about on top. And the ulama, they say that pronoun, it goes back to the nafs that Allah has given us. It goes back to the body and the soul that Allah has given us. So they say that the person that purifies it with salah, with dhikr, with sadaqah, with doing good, with speaking good, with acting good, that person, they have succeeded in this dunya. They have succeeded in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And sometimes purification doesn't always come only from us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَا تُزَكُّوا أَنفُسَكُمْ. That you are not the ones who purify yourselves. And this is the opinion of some of the ulama, that tazkiyah comes from Allah. And Allah decides whom Allah is going to give this tazkiyah to. But there is another ayah where Allah says, قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ تَزَكَّى. That the one who has succeeded is the one who purified himself, purified his soul. Because the soul is our relationship to Allah, it's our link to Allah. If we choose to link it to anything else, it will just go down. It will become bad, it will become filthy. Because this dunya and the luxuries of this dunya is meant to be your prison. It's not meant to be your Jannah. And if you indulge in the luxuries of this dunya, you will dirty your soul. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَقَدْ خَابَ مَنْ دَسَّاهَا. And the one who chose, dassaha means to bury in the ground. Right? Allah speaks about the people of Quraysh when they used to bury their young. Right? And when they knew it was a girl, they would bury it in the ground. And Allah mentions this in the Quran with the word dassaha. So the person that doesn't look after the soul of this, doesn't worry about, what is going to happen to me when I die, because the reality is we are all going to end up there. Everybody wants to reach Jannah, but everybody is afraid to die. But in order for us to reach Jannah, we must die. And the beauty of Islam is that we know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that the mu'minun by Allah, they are alive. The mujahidun by Allah, they are alive. So death for us is just another stage that we are going to. Because this life is a test. And for a test, there must be a beginning and an end. And our end is when we die. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us an example when it comes to our soul, what the condition of it is going to be. But أَفْلَحَ مَنْ تَزَكَّى. The one who looks after the soul, who nourishes the soul, purifies the soul, they have succeeded on this dunya. They have attained Allah's satisfaction. وَقَدْ خَابَ مَنْ دَسَّاهَا. the one who chooses to neglect their soul, leave it off, not worried about it, not worried about any way of purifying it, that person, it's like he has taken his soul and pushed it down into the dust. He had taken his soul, or she had taken a soul, pushed it down into the dust, not worried about it. It can die, it can get filthy, it can be the worst type, but it doesn't affect him. Jama'at al-Muslimin, the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam says, there's a dua that the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam would always make. And the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam would say, Allahumma ati nafsi taqwaha, wa zakkiha anta khayru man zakkaha, anta waliyuha wa mawlaha. This is a dua that many of the shuyukh use. And the dua is, Allahumma ati nafsi taqwaha. Oh Allah, grant for myself, my soul, goodness. Wa zakkiha anta khayru man zakkaha. And granted purity, for you are the best to purify the souls. Anta waliyuha wa mawlaha. Ya Allah, you are the guardian of it, and you are the master of the soul. This is a dua the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam made. Was the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam in need of this dua? Of course not. Allah had forgiven him for any sin that he had committed. Then Anbiya, they were infallible. They never committed anything. And whatever they had committed, Allah had forgiven them. Yet the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam is making this dua. Why? So that we can learn from it, Jama'at Muslimin. So that we can take a lesson. Ya Rasulullah, you taught this dua to the Sahaba, and the Sahaba carried on to the Tabi'een, the Tabi'een, everyone that came after that until our time. For what reason, Ya Rasulullah? So that we can be guided to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, again, he says, Allahumma ati nafsi taqwaha. The dua that is commonly known is, Allahumma ati nufusana taqwaha, wa zakkiha anta khayru man zakkaha, anta waliyuha wa mawlaha. Then lastly, Jama'atul Muslimin, another dua that the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam would constantly make is that the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam would say, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-ajzi wal-kasal. Now this is a dua that one of the Sahaba that came to the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam said, Ya Rasulullah, give me something of power, something of might, something that can help me in this dunya. And the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam gives him this dua, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-ajzi wal-kasal. Ya Allah, I seek your protection from laziness and from weakness. And as well in that weakness, the ulama, they say that in this dua, it's also when a person becomes senile, right? In old age. That this is the dua that the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam taught the Sahaba. That when you get into old age, you ask Allah, protect me from that. Protect me from not being able to understand what is going on around me. So, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-ajzi wal-kasal, wal-harami wal-jubn. And I seek your protection from being a coward, and being afraid. Wal-bukhli wal-adab al-qabr, and being, bakhil. Bakhil is like stingy. Wa-adab al-qabr, and the punishment of the grave. Allahumma ati nafsi taqwaha wa zakkiha anta khayru man zakkaha anta waliyuha wa mawlaha. Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min qalbin la yakhsha. Oh Allah, I seek your protection from a heart that is not humble. A heart that is not humble means a heart that has takabbur in. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, at least the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam says that a person will not enter Jannah that has a size of sesame seed size of kibr in their heart, will not enter Jannah. So the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam teaches us this dua, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min qalbin la yakhsha. Oh Allah, I seek your protection from a heart that is not humble. Wa min nafsin la tashba', and a soul that is never satisfied. That is never satisfied with what Allah gives them. Because in another hadith, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that if you are satisfied with what I give you on this dunya, I will grant you peace and tranquility on this dunya. So the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam says, make the dua, min nafsin la tashba'. Ya Allah, I seek your protection from a nafs that is never satisfied. Wa ilmin la yanfa', and knowledge that is not beneficial. There is a lot of knowledge out there that we don't need. There is a lot of things, take all of these things that is going on TikTok, all of these pranks that people do. It's not beneficial to learn how to do that prank. It is not beneficial to learn how to do a specific, trending dance or whatever the case may be. It doesn't benefit you in any way. One of the things that the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam says that is going to help you after you die, meaning you're gone, you're done. There's nothing more coming your way. The Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam says one of the things that can still help you is knowledge that you have passed on to the next generation that they benefit from. Allah will reward you even in your qabr for that. So the Nabi says, وَعِلْمٍ لَا يَنْفَعَ, knowledge that doesn't help. وَدُعَاءٍ لَا يُسْمَعَ, and a supplication that is not heard. Again, the dua the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam says, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-ajz wal-kasal, wal-harami wal-jubl, والجبن والبخل وعذاب القبر اللهم آت نفوسنا تقواها وزكها أنت خير من زكاها أنت وليها ومولاها اللهم إني أعوذ بك من قلب لا يخشع ومن نفس لا تشبع وعلم لا ينفع ودعاء لا يسمع. Zayd ibn Haritha, he says that the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam had taught him this dua, and him and the Sahaba made it their responsibility to teach those who came after them. So when we look at all of the du'as that the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam teaches us, Jamaatul Muslimin, it's important that we take note. It's important that we take note because the du'as that the Nabi teach, it has power in it. It has power in these du'as. And that is why sometimes people will come and they will say, what dua do I make? What do I say? All of these du'as that the Nabi taught the Sahaba and they left it for us is du'as that we can use as well. It doesn't mean because they are done, they are gone, the dua don't work anymore. Allah is still there. The Lord of the Sahaba and the Lord of the Nabi is the same Lord that you and I worship. So if we want to gain closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we follow the du'as that the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam had left for us. And inshallah ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will grant us all to reach the level of Jannah. Ameen ya Rabbil Alameen. Inshallah ta'ala, we will continue with the surah in our next lesson next week. Ameen ya Rabbil Alameen. Wa akhir da'wana. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen.